Field Trips features real field stories told by real ASCE members. This episode of Field Trips is sponsored by the ISFOG 2020 conference. More info at isfog2020.org.
Hi, I'm John Wolosick, and this is my field trip. I was hired in 1979 out of the University of Illinois by Law Engineering with two other geotechnical engineers, Frank Hagee and Lee Abramson. Our main task when we got to work right out of school was a subway construction for the MARTA system, Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority in downtown Atlanta. And Frank and I were assigned to read slope indicators or inclinometers at the corner of Broad and Walton Streets in downtown Atlanta. We did this every week. The slope indicators, there were two of them on either side of the street, were 75 feet deep. And it was before this was a very automated process. In fact, our slope indicator probe that was put down the borehole was serial number 0001, the very first slope indicator ever built. So it was a process. You had to go out in the field in the morning. It was typically rush hour, downtown Atlanta, and we got there early. You had to bail water out of the hole. It was on the curb at the corner of the street. The CNS Bank building was on one side of Broad Street. The Grant building was on the other side. And so it became readily apparent that Frank wasn't real good at keeping the cables straight, etc., and wrapping them in this cart we had. So that became my job. Frank's job was to get the slope indicator probe out, to get the reader box out, get all the cord or the miscellaneous stuff hooked up. And I was in charge of the cord because I was good at keeping the cord wrapped up, getting it down the hole, etc. So we got this down to a process. Like I said, we did it every week. Frank had his job, I had my job, and we were ready to go this morning after a cup of coffee. We went down and I started getting the cord ready. Frank was getting all his stuff set up. And so I had the end of the cord and I handed it to Frank. I said, "Here, put this on the probe." And he looked at me like this. I said, Frank, put it on the probe. We got to go, he said. So I go, what's going on? He said, "I already put the probe in the hole without the cord attached, without the copper wire." So that meant that our $12,000 probe, which was approximately 2/3 of what each of us made per year at that time, had been dropped into this 75-foot hole, which fortunately was full of water. And so I guess it gradually shrunk down because it had to, or sunk down because it had to push the water aside, but it was gone. And so I'm thinking to myself, we're both going to get fired. This is a $12,000 probe. What are we going to do? And I thought about coat hangers, 75 feet, whatever. So Frank sits there and he finally says, "We're going to put that wire down the hole and spin it around and try to get the little connector to hook up." I said, "Frank, that is never going to work, ever." He said, "Do you have any other suggestions?" So very carefully, we lower this cord down 75 feet, and then we feel it actually touch on the bottom. It goes dink, dink. And so Frank would spin the cord around and then we'd pull on it, nothing. Okay, so we did that about 6 times. Finally, we do it again. He spins it around and we pull and we feel something. It's like it's a little bit of the threads had gotten attached. So we pulled up a little bit and it broke loose. But we had hopes then that this would work. So about the 15th time we did it, he spun it around. We felt the weight. We very, very carefully pulled for like 30 minutes, as slow and easy as we could. And sure enough, we pulled that probe out of the hole. So I said, "What are we going to do now?" Frank says, "Don't tell anybody." So we take the probe up to the office, get a hair dryer, because the connection shouldn't have gotten wet. We dry it off, and then we take it over to the other office where they had a calibration hole. We put it down the calibration hole. The thing calibrates perfectly, and it worked fine. We got our measurements, and nobody ever knew about that until this little video. And I'm John Wolosick, and this is my field trip.
Field Trips is a production of the ASCE and the Geo-Institute.